Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. I would like to introduce myself first. I'm Garima Bajpai, industry speaker, digital twin, AI ops, DevOps. I'm also the founder for the DevOps community of practice here in Canada. I'm co-organizer for the DevOps Summit, which happens in Canada. We also organize a lot of pre-events and different kind of summits during the year, so you all are welcome to join that. I'm the Chief Ambassador for the Continuous Delivery Foundation, as well as Ambassador with DevOps Institute. My today's call to action would be the mindset shift towards data security. And if you want to build a broader conversation with me on this topic, my social handles are in the slide. So I would welcome you all to join that conversation and network with me as we go along. So my today's topic is DevSecOps to DataSecOps, and I would be sharing the journey which we took from the DevOps community of practice here in Canada. We have several DevOps practitioners which look at different aspects of advancing DevOps practices, and more so in 2021 and moving to 2022, we see integration of data into DevOps and products. So we would like to kind of initiate that conversation and see how we would move forward with DevSecOps to DataSecOps and what we have to learn from the practitioners on the ground, which have started this movement of DevOps and DevSecOps. To reiterate the fact that we have our 5 pillars which we work in the community with. We motivate each other, we have long-term collaboration, we do gamification, we have a lot of experiential learning events, as well as we are big on being inclusive and taking that collective step forward towards new next generation practices, technologies, and emerging trends. So let's get started with the key takeaways. And I would outline several of these key takeaways during this conversation, starting from leveraging DevSecOps to secure data. The key challenges you will face, as well as opportunities when you dive into DataSecOps. What we see from a community of practice perspective here in Canada. Connecting product management to DataSecOps. This is another aspect. I think more or less when we started this journey with DevOps, somehow we actually could not connect the product management function that well into DevOps. And I see that this is a learning coming from the DevOps and DevSecOps practitioners, that building that broader conversation with product management, portfolio management is essential in order to ensure we have the right business outcomes as well as value creation. Future outlook on the roadmap. And lastly, we will say how to get buy-in from CXOs on the roadmap. Now, I'm showing you on the right-hand side some of the artifacts which we have created through the community of practice. And these are like crowdsourced artifacts which are created through the community. There are several white papers we have created on these topics. DevOps to DataOps was one of the key white paper which was created during this year, and there was also a follow-up conversation on springboarding data towards value. So I would highly encourage you all to check out these white papers. These are crowdsourced artifacts. Now, taking that first step into the conversation, I would like to begin this journey with data ops. That's the first step, and that would be the overall envelope when we talk about DataSecOps. So data ops, and we want to define it early. DataOps obviously is struggling with the same problem as DevOps in one way, where we have to have that foundational vocabulary, and there are several definitions available today. I pick and choose one of the definitions which was produced by Gartner. DevOps is defined as a combination of data and engineering practices. And it is not premature to say that it's a first step towards a new operating model for organizations who are looking at value of data. Now, when we talk about data ops, there are 5 pillars to this. The first one is data quality and data quality management. The second one is data flow management, how the supply chain for data works. Data integration, how we could seamlessly integrate data across portfolios, across pipelines. Data security and governance are the key and crucial pillars when we talk about data ops. And data security, in my mind, would be DataSecOps in parallel with DevSecOps. Without wasting any time, I would also like to highlight that I pinpointed one of the quotes here, that without a systematic way to start and keep data clean, bad data will happen. This is a quote which actually struck me when I was moving this journey from in DevOps to DataOps. And I think it explains a lot of issues, problems, and challenges when it comes to data and creating that value through data. We will also have some broader conversations around the rest of the challenges, but moving the needle forward, I would like to highlight that post-COVID era, a lot of companies, along with big and small enterprises, consider that the top game changer would be data, and the heat is on. The board of directors place analytics and AI as number one and number two priority. What does that mean? That means that data will become an essential ingredient in all the products and services what we offer. And by 2023, our report says that 80% of your products and services will have some kind of data ingredient in one way or the other to enhance your products and features. Now, it will require a systematic learning around how to introduce data and how to actually extract value from data. Now, it also brings a lot of challenges on the table, and I will actually start with some grassroots journey for data ops and some learnings from the past. So, in 2017, there was a report produced by Gartner which says 85% of big data projects fail. And some of these reasons which I've outlined are like wrong data or inadequate skills, incorrect business objectives, insufficient business cases, data management challenges, data integration challenges, technology complexity, management and cultural resistance, inadequate management and governance, incorrect project structures, technology and architecture infrastructure which is not available or maybe not appropriate for these kind of projects, incorrect use of technology, poor communication, inappropriate strategy match. There are several of these factors which were outlined. And I would also highlight that in 2019 a similar report was produced by VentureBeat, which has says that 87% of data science projects never make it to the production. And through 2022, only 20% of analytics insights will deliver business outcomes. When we are going into 2022, I would uplift these challenges and take a strategic view on what will be the new challenges with data and data ops and creating value through data. So I took some research which was done by Gartner and the hyper cycle for legal and compliance technologies. And I truly believe that thinking about security before AI and data in production becomes extremely important. And that sets the stage for DataSecOps, creating that feedback loop for data ops, data owners, CFOs, CDOs, product management organizations. And they need to invest in DataSecOps. And there is legal and compliance technologies available today which can foster that collaboration. We need to bring cross-functional skill set for AI governance, for subject request rights, for AI in corporate legal practices, digital ethics, for consent management, preference management, prescriptive analytics. These all challenges are kind of out there with data, and I think we need to bring appropriate technology around legal and compliance to ensure that we create safe data and create safe products and services for the entire ecosystem. Now let's take that next step forward, and I would like to kind of uplift this conversation around data science ops mesh. And several people are talking about several types of ops, and I will start with ML ops. In my mind, ML ops is machine learning operational practices, and its machine learning capabilities include code plus data. That's how I would define it. Model ops is another ops which is considered to be extremely important when we talk about data science projects. So automating, deploying, monitoring, and the governance of models is basically what you could define as model ops. Now, XOps is a combination of practices which includes data ops, ML ops, DevOps as one of the top trends in data analytics for 2021. And this term was actually coined by Gartner. Now, keeping in view all these ops which have begin this collaboration, I would steer this conversation to DataSecOps. And DataSecOps would be DevSecOps for data analytics in my mind. There are several other definitions for DataSecOps, but we'll go into that a little later. DevSecOps to secure data is basically convergence of DevSecOps plus data. Now, before we actually start defining DataSecOps, we should understand the why. And probably a lot of people would understand that data governance, secure data strategy would build trust for the ecosystem in your products and services. That's the first and foremost why of bringing DataSecOps capability. Protecting your data, continuous data compliance, continuous risk management for data, continuous data security, as well as enhancing the data capital, where your data is secure and your products are based on secure data, where you have ownership of data, you have defined ethical guidelines as well as policies, how to manage, use, operate, and consume data. So these are like some kind of mind mapping exercise I would appreciate if you could do with your team in order to define your why for DataSecOps. Now, building that conversation further, what is needed for DataSecOps? And again, is DevSecOps not sufficient? I would say we brainstorm this question in our community of practice, and I would first answer this with different people. So we, from a data perspective, we have different people in the equation. So we have data ops engineers, we have chief data officers, we have financial officers, we have data scientists and data owners. Same kind of principle of collaboration, lean, sharing, measurement is needed in order to ensure that we have a broader perspective around DataSecOps. But these people need to have to collaborate and build cross-functional knowledge. Another aspect why we need DataSecOps is also, having to look at different processes. These processes which operate on data are different from what your DevOps processes are. So the data is not incremental enough, it's not agile enough, it's not observable enough, and this leads to different kind of processes which are today working on data, and we need to advance that needle to ensure that DataSecOps becomes a reality. Now, data culture also entails that the culture of collaboration, building cross-functional skills, making data capabilities more agile and integrated, and having that feedback loop. And lastly, I would say tools. So if an organization is serious about the DataSecOps practices, you will have to start looking at tools and capabilities. Some of the companies which are steering this needle forward are like Snowflake, Satori. These organizations, if you look at, they're creating platforms and strategies for data and secure data practices. And this is something where a lot of investment will go from 2022 onwards. Now, we've also defined from the perspective that who should be benefited out of DataSecOps initiatives. And somehow I feel that when we started the DevOps movement, we had left behind the product managers. And this is one of the key learnings which comes through from a community of practitioners perspective, that we should start integration of DataSecOps from the product management areas where we can streamline investment priorities as well as integrate our capabilities, how we will collaborate and also bring value which is incremental through data. And what we have to learn from DevSecOps, again, this is a collaboration, of course, plan for versioning of data and traceability. I think that's the most important thing when you think about AI analytics projects. If you can explain, how do you reach to that conclusion, that would be beneficial, and that brings traceability. People before process and tools, and that is where I think a key learning comes from DevOps practitioners, and orchestrating and automating your data supply chain. This is something which will make your data pipelines faster and also more efficient in terms of value creation. When should you do have a DataSecOps practice? I would say now, and build incremental. Of course, focus on minimum viable product with security and move the needle forward. So DataSecOps, this is an evolution which got started, and I would quote Ben Hasberg. DataSecOps is an evolution in the way of organizations, how they treat security as part of their data operations. And again, from the journey perspective, DataSecOps is making data more secure. And it has like 4 pillars in this journey. Creating that data culture is the first and foremost. So people have to be aware, they have to be educated, they need to kind of get support to understand the legal compliance issues, as well as how to build in security and shifting left security when it comes to data projects, analytics projects, data pipeline, and also steer that thinking around knowing your data coordinates. Data for one product and can be a waste, but then it becomes a raw material for another product. So basically, knowing your coordinates, building that accountability, building a license model around your data coordinates would help bringing that platform-centric approach towards data. Supply chain efficiencies. Know your coordinates as well as build it through tools and practices where you can trace where this data is coming from, who's the owner of that data, how we're supposed to use that data, who can access this data, and how we should consume this data. And lastly, building that data capital would need a lot of insights into what is ethical, how can we monetize this data, who owns it, how we can represent this data in different dimensions, and also securing governance on top of it. Now, talking about key challenges and opportunities, DataSecOps has a different set of challenges as we go along. The first and foremost challenge is the data itself. Data supply chain is still evolving. Creating right synergies with business. The business question at hand is the first and foremost challenge we see when we go into data projects, analytics projects. Iterate, test, and improve. It's still very monolithic, and it's time where we bring more realistic approach towards agile thinking. Everyday reality would require a robust data pipeline that manifests results incrementally. Fragmented tools, another challenge. DataOps will require that team to come together and actively and more often create a consistent tool chain. And similarly, for DataSecOps, we need to ensure that we have an incremental way of approaching security for data projects, ensuring that we focus on vulnerability of data, how to close the gap, how to bring open source components, tools, and also ensure security is part of that pipeline. Data storage or data hoarding is another challenge where we see that we have to separate ourselves with data hoarders. And lastly, roles. Data ops is not an exclusive project. It needs focus and specific skill set. So organization needs to focus on programs and education modules to bring more people and collectively move forward. I would like to bring one more point onto the table today is connecting product management to DataSecOps. And I would like to say that somehow I feel that we, from a DevOps perspective, have lacked this perspective from the beginning. We didn't had integrated view of DevOps with product management, and that actually created some issues early on when we were steering investments into DevOps. So we had to justify why DevOps is useful, how it can help the organization, and it lacked some perspectives around, the value towards product management. I think data should learn from that, from DevOps practitioners, and data agility is one thing which product management can be benefited out of. So how fast and frequently we can convert data into value. And obviously we would have to limit the liability and risk. So we have to focus on security and making that safe transition incrementally. And the second part would be data observability, sharing the same core objective as application observability, but health of your data systems, which will largely include security, compliance, legal traceability, and all those aspects. Systems of data has to be user-friendly, reliable, scalable, secure, and maintainable. So if we can actually include product managers, portfolio managers into this conversation, it will have more investment steering. Future outlook on the roadmap. And this is a conversation what we started with the DevOps practitioners here at the community of practice. So I'll throw some ideas and I'll leave you with your thinking hats on. What if data is available on demand as an open platform for co-innovation? So what it would need if, let's say, that happens, you will rely on a safe platform which can provide you that open information for co-innovation and that on-demand data which you need, right? It will also be fair for small and medium business enterprises to consume that data. So there is a crucial need to kind of take that large step and see if we can create that big pipeline of data where we can secure data based on identity management, preference management, predictive analysis, as well as traceability of data ownership. How about digital signing of data sets? And these are questions which would steer that conversation and the needle of a roadmap for DataSecOps. And lastly, a platform for ethically sourced data. Obviously, we all need that, and we would like to have that in favor of small and medium business enterprises. So some thoughts which we want to steer. How to get buy-in from the CXOs is basically including people and taking that collective journey. So think about your data ops engineers, data analysts, data scientists, data owners, data managers, and bring that more focused approach to steer that capability, skill, and role definitions with support from communities. If you're curious what we do at the DevOps community of practice, and if you want to build your own data ops community, DataSecOps community, you're welcome to join us at these forums and these groups. And if you want to have an experiential learning event with us, our credentials are there outlined. With that, I thank you for you being here. And now let's get back to work.